about to start a series of mini lessons about relationships. This is the first one, and I'm going to cover a number of different concepts, but today I wanted to talk to you about the difference between emotional childhood and emotional adulthood. Now, the concept of being in emotional childhood might sound a little bit offensive or belittling to you, and that is not my intention. The only reason we use that terminology is just as a way of expressing what's happening within ourselves. So when somebody is so if you imagine a child is actually dependent on somebody else to provide them with food, to provide them with warmth and security. So a child is very dependent on somebody else. Now, the difference between emotional adulthood and emotional childhood is that when we become adults, when we mature into adults, so around the age of sort of 18 to 25, we then become responsible for ourselves. But actually what tends to happen is we don't take responsibilities for ourselves. People don't teach us, or we don't get taught as we're growing up, how to process our emotions and how to consciously and deliberately think on purpose to make us feel a certain way. And science is proving this now. Neuroscience actually has proven that what we think sends chemicals down into our bodies that make us feel. There is scientific evidence now to prove that is how it works in the body. So I am talking to those of us now that are sort of 18 to 25 and older, but that are still in emotional childhood. So emotional childhood is when we are dependent on somebody else's behavior to make us feel good, or that we're blaming a circumstance, or we're blaming somebody else. We are not taking responsibility for how we feel. It's somebody else's responsibility. It's their fault I'm feeling like this. It's because of that makes me feel. If that hadn't have happened, I would feel okay. So that's when we're in emotional childhood. We are dependent on external factors to make us feel good. But actually being in emotional childhood is really powerless. It's a really powerless place to be, because if you believe that if your child behaved better, I would feel happy, that means that child has to change to make us feel better. But it's not the child that makes us feel, it's our thoughts that make us feel. So that child, whatever age, can't make us as adults feel anything. It's the same with love. If you think, oh, my husband has to love me for me to feel love, it's your thoughts that make you feel love. If you're thinking that I need to have a certain job title to feel adequate, it's not the job title that makes you feel adequate, it's your thought. So that's when we're in emotional childhood, and it feels really powerless because we can't control the outside circumstances. We can't control other people's behavior. We can't change what happens in the world. So therefore it feels like we can't change ourselves and our feelings, and we feel powerless. And if you notice, children want instant gratification. They want to feel better, and they want to feel better now. Or they want a toy and they want that toy now. It's the same when we're the age of an adult, but we're still in emotional childhood, because we want to buy the car to make us feel better. We want the bigger house to make us feel better. We want to go on a holiday to make us feel better. But it's never the external factors that make us feel, or that instant gratification. It's our thoughts about it. And actually, when we go for long-term gratification, the benefits are so better. So I need a glass of wine to relax me is an instant gratification, whereas if you're willing to delay the gratification, the well-being of not drinking is so much better and sustainable and enhances throughout life. Whereas the instant gratification actually is usually negative on our health and is temporary. So when we're willing to evolve into emotional adulthood, actually we start to understand that we are always responsible for how we feel. We are always responsible for our actions, because it's our thoughts that create our feelings, not the external world. And when we know that we are in control of how we feel, then we feel so much more powerful. So emotional childhood is powerless. Emotional adulthood is very powerful. So this has nothing to do with age once you're beyond childhood, because obviously children are in childhood. This says that you could get a 70-year-old that still is in emotional adulthood, emotional childhood, who's not willing to take responsibility for themselves. But that's where our power lies as humans. We get to decide and consciously think on purpose that will make us feel a certain way. That feeling will generate an action that will give us a result. So our thinking creates our lives. Whether you want to believe me or not, this is how your brain is working. Only for you, it might be completely unconscious at the moment. But mind management and life coaching awakens that unconsciousness so that we can actually evolve into emotional adulthood and consciously and deliberately decide the life that we want to live, who we want to become. So the other thing being in emotional adulthood is when we are willing to delay the gratification. So instead of having that quick fix of a chocolate bar, we are willing to delay the gratification for the long-term well-being that not eating the chocolate will give us. So that's the difference between emotional childhood and emotional adulthood. Childhood, we're dependent on other people to make us feel. Because that's not the case, we can't change them. Therefore, we can't change how we feel. Very powerless. When we're in emotional adulthood, we take full responsibility for how we feel because it's our thoughts that are causing it. That is very powerful. Now, that's not to say that you won't choose to be hurt if someone says hurtful words to you. It's not that just because you're in emotional adulthood, you're always going to be positive. You're never going to feel nervous. You're never going to feel negative. That's not the case. Actually, when we're going for a job interview, we're going to feel nervous, and that's okay. I am willing to feel nervous because I want to get that job. Excuse me. So don't think that this concept is about feeling positive and good all the time. It isn't. It's just taking responsibility for yourself, because when you take full responsibility for yourself, then everybody else gets to be who they want to be. And they are just there for you to love them. If you have children, your children are just there for you to love them. They are not there to make you happy. They cannot make you annoyed, although I know it feels like that sometimes. It's your thought about it. And that's not to say you're going to have to be able to change that thought, but don't put that responsibility on the child. It's not their responsibility. Your job can't make you happy. It is not your job's job to make you happy. That's your job. That sits with you because of your thoughts and your feelings. So I really hope that you listen to this and see how powerful this can make you, rather than using it as another reason to beat yourself up, because what is the point of that? So if you're ready to learn more about how to evolve into emotional adulthood, then get in touch with me. I can help you. I am here to help you, and I'm here to support you on that journey to create the life that you want to create. So get in touch. You can find me on Facebook. It's Nikki Bevan, MMC. You might be watching this on Facebook. Just send me a message. It's all it takes. And then we can together create the life that you actually want to have. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye-bye.